I was diagnosed on January the 19th, 2007 when I was 22.
How did it feel? Like somebody had just hit you with a ton of bricks?
I tend to be doing things now a little more urgently.
Even the healthiest living person and with no vices will get cancer. Cancer doesn't discriminate against healthy people.
Most of us just go about our lives from day to day, don't we, not really thinking about the potential for this to happen to us.
One in 3 people in the UK are diagnosed with cancer. Can you imagine being told those 3 dreaded words? You have cancer. Peter Bridgman is a 74-year-old sufferer, but with 4 grandchildren to dote on, he's never had more of a reason to live.
You don't know you've got it until it breaks out somewhere, so I could have had this for a long time. I took it reasonably well. It didn't sort of worry me considerably.
After being told the news, the doctor suggested a course of chemotherapy and an operation.
Well, I obviously put Emma and Sarah, my daughters, through it, particularly when I had the op, because I think the surgeon told them more about it than what they told me. Or if they told me I was at that state, I couldn't care less. So let's get it over with, you know. So I didn't really take in the circumstances. And I wasn't aware at that time of the potential dangers I was in of being paralysed, because if anything went wrong, you know. But he was quite pleased with the op. It went well. Yeah.
After chemotherapy, Pete's protein levels were lowered, but it's now risen, and the doctors have given Pete 5 years to live.
I haven't looked into the final, or the if you like, the end game, if you like, for the sake of putting it. I don't know what will happen at that time, and I haven't really queried that, because at this point I'd rather not know.
When people are facing death and dying, they've often got multiple symptoms. They may be in pain, they may have breathlessness, they may feel sick, they may still have some after effects from curative treatments for cancer that make them unwell. But they're also experiencing psychological symptoms, facing their own mortality. And that's something that everybody treats very, very differently and individually.
Basically, take it by day.
And
every day is a good day, sort of thing. And I'm not having bad days at the moment, so just hoping that the next day is going to be another good one. I should be 76 next birthday anyway. If I make me 80th, I should be quite happy with that. I think I've had a good life anyways.
Obviously, the fight against cancer can be tough for everyone, but it's the mental battle that can sometimes be the hardest. In 2008, over 40,000 people were diagnosed with breast cancer. That's over 130 people a day. Over 10 years ago, Jill Allen was diagnosed with breast cancer.
To start with, it was like, oh, terrible, like it was the end of the world. You thought the world should stop now because you felt like yours had, so everybody else's should have done, and of course it doesn't. You go out from the hospital when you've been told, and you get in the car and you drive home and everybody's doing everything as normal, and you think, well, why should you can't be doing this? No, look what's happening to me. But you know, it's terrible, terrible shock, terrible.
I think being a GP, there can be an advantage in that we often know the patients very well beforehand. Not always, of course, but more often than not, we'll already know the patients well and have built up a relationship with them over a period of time before. And I think that can be helpful when having to break this sort of bad news, because you're already aware of their way of thinking about things and also their family circumstances and the support that they may have from family and friends as well, which is obviously very, very important for somebody who's given this potentially life-changing and life-threatening news and the treatment that they're then going to have to go on to have following that.
It was a small lump, he said, about as big as his thumbnail. So he said, obviously, operation, you're coming in next week, and it's all happening at the same time. And then after the operation, they do a biopsy, and then you have to go back and see them. So I had to wait then for the results, not knowing what he was going to say. So it was really good, because I was in within a week, operation, and then the week after, I think it was 2 weeks after, I went back to see him, and he gave me the news. He said it's they grade them, so it's like it was quite a low grade. So I got a 70% chance of ever getting it back, and I had to. He suggested, because of my age, I should have chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and they put you on a tablet called tamoxifen, which is a hormone tablet, and that was what he suggested.
With the help of the medicine and the treatment, Jill managed to win her personal battle, but unfortunately, 5 years ago, the cancer returned.
That was picked up from a mammogram, and it wasn't actually a tumour, it was in the calcium. Apparently when you've had an operation, the calcium forms, and if they find it, they test it automatically, and it would have been cancerous if I'd left it. There was cancerous cells in it. I know people say, oh, I'm in the all clear, but they can't tell you that. So, you know, you just live with it, really. I mean, I'm still seeing the specialist. I see him the last time in February, and then I think I see him every 3 years or something. So I suppose if that is your all clear, really, the fact you don't have to see him every 12 months, it just lifts you right up. Yeah, because you feel really normal, because you can go out and book a holiday, you can do normal things before. You can't go anywhere because your treatment, you've got to keep going back and forward to the hospital. So yeah, you get your life back, definitely. I'm frightened of it coming back, obviously, and it makes you completely paranoid. You know, you don't know every ache, every pain. You think, oh, it's come back, you've got it back, but then you have to think a bit more logical and think, no, I am paranoid, you know. I said I don't like going to the doctors, but if I've got a bad shoulder, I have had x-rays and things since then, and they say, I'm going to send you for an x-ray just to make sure. You think, oh no, you know, but yeah, you go and you can come out thinking, oh, I'm all right again. But yeah, it makes you paranoid, completely paranoid.
Cancer is an illness that has no regard for age. Katie Rowan is a 26-year-old woman who, at the mere age of 22, was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia.
Haematologist rang me. How are you feeling? You know, you need to come to hospital. I was like, I know that. I need to know what's going on. And he said, okay, well, you seem to be dealing with it pretty well. I'll have to phone you back. I was like, okay, fine. And then he phoned back and he was like, where do you live? And I said where I lived. He was like, oh, that's quite near me. Do you want me to pick you up? I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm going to come in. I just want to know what's going on. And he said, well, okay, do you know what lots of cells means? I was like, lots of cells. Thought back to GCSE biology and I was like, cancer. And he was like, we think so. I was like, okay, fine, I'll be in a minute. And yeah, I just sort of took it in my stride, have tried. I mean, when I found that out, and I was like, okay, right, cancer, excellent. My initial reaction was, I'm going to carry on. This is not going to take over. I've always been on a pill form for chemotherapy, and in that regard, I've been very lucky. I haven't lost my hair and had all the, you know, side effects of what I call hardcore chemo.
Chemotherapy, again, it'll depend on the type of chemotherapy, which will vary from cancer to cancer. Some side effects might be relatively mild, some potentially more severe. But generally speaking, nausea is a big problem for patients undergoing chemotherapy. Hair loss is obviously another common side effect which people are very much aware of. Feeling generally weak and run down is very common as well.
I do play it down because I don't always want to be the person who's always moaning about how tired she is. My friends and I are bored of that. For example, it's really hard to manage because I'm tired most of the time, but it's manageable, and then I'm exhausted. And it hits me. I don't go from being tired, getting worse, exhausted. I go from being tired to exhausted in a heartbeat, and I can't function. So my parents have had phone calls from me When I have been out and about and I phone home in tears because I can't face walking that extra 5 steps or whatever to the bus. My father went into male mode of, right, what can I do to fix this? You're going to be fine. And in fact, when I had the first phone call from the hospital, I phoned home and promptly burst into tears, and I said, they found something. And he was like, don't be ridiculous, you're fine. And that is the attitude that he has taken since. Like, you're fine, you're going to be fine. Like, you know, do what you have to do, but you're going to be fine. My mother has been phenomenal, like absolutely incredible. When the side effects really started kicking in, I was still in Edinburgh. She worked in London full time, and she would get an overnight coach on a Thursday night from Victoria, arrive at my flat breakfast time on the Friday, stay till the Sunday night, get an overnight coach back and go straight into the office on Monday morning.
Katie will have this affliction for the rest of her life. But with the help of friends, family and doctors, she remains positive.
So it's really difficult because obviously I'm like, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. Carry on with life, you can do all this stuff, it's amazing, it's wonderful. And that's just been my really lucky diagnosis. And I think also just generally being quite an upbeat, happy, I always look on the bright side of things is a definite bonus, because I don't dwell on the negative or what could go wrong. The future is exciting with this degree that I've just started. I've got another 3.5 years to go. Loving that second student loan. I am also this summer going to write a guide called What You Do When You Don't Know What to Do, just about my experience, like nutrition and all the things that I found really helpful. But yeah, keep smiling and know that there's a reason for everything. That's what I believe. And if your time is only for 15 years on this planet or 85, like that, you're here for the right amount of time and you will do what you're here to do. And that's what I believe. And I think that's probably a massive thing that's kept me going.